indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Andrew.
He is the chaperone for all of the Tennessee 4-H International Exchange students across the state of Tennessee, and we are hosting him for a week here in Cleveland and showing him the sights and what Cleveland has to offer here. So.
What for joy? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I have the privilege of introducing the Honorable Kevin Raper, State Representative for our lovely county and city. I would just like to say welcome to everyone.
Awesome.
Hello, I have my husband, Jake Stum, with me here today. Coaches who are here, Jake was once named or called the Nick Saban of youth football. So if you need advice, he's totally here for you. But thank you so much for being here, Jake. Woo.
I've got a visitor here today. His name's Tyler York. He's a co-founder of Wire Technology in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Today we have Dr. Jeff Elliott with us, the Director of Cleveland City Schools, Al Morris, the Athletic Director, and this is not an introduction or a new visitor, but I also wanted to congratulate Brandy King, our new communication specialist at Cleveland City Schools.
Awesome. Oh, gotcha.
Thanks, Andrew. I've got Dwayne Morrow, our city president with Southeast Bank, here with me today.
Now, have we got any club announcements or brag bucks, or we got a few?
All right, thank you, Andrew. So last Friday, United Way had a little event we called Day of Action. We set all kinds of records. We had over 500 volunteers and from 38 companies and organizations just like Rotary. And then we also were at 26 different sites, including the museum. So when you leave today, you can see the wonderful mulch that Andrew spread himself. And also, I want to introduce this year's leadership team because they're all Rotarians. We have as our campaign co-chairs this year, Mr. Nate Tucker and Mr. Adam Osborne. We are so fortunate to have them. They love our community, and we can't wait to work with you to raise over $1.5 million. And then also, finally, I also want to introduce this year's Young Professional Leadership. Zach Brooks is actually our president this year. He couldn't be here. He's in Chattanooga. But Andrew Dinsmore is here, and he is our vice chair this year.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, I'm so excited. Our daughter, Rachel, oldest daughter, and grandson, Walker, moved back from Oregon, and Walker is successfully registered at Cleveland High School as a senior, and we're gonna go pick up his laptop and register his classes tonight.
Awesome.
So, but I'm just happy they're back.
That's great.
Andrew and fellow Rotarians, I want to encourage everyone to make sure that they're voting. The last day is Thursday, and I'd like you to please consider my good friend and fellow Rotarian Dan Moore for City Council at large.
As you know, I have a wonderful wife
who I seriously married up. But I have to brag on her. Yesterday at the Cleveland Cleveland City Schools convocation, she was awarded the Lily Fitzgerald Excellence in Teaching Award, which gave her a grant for her school, for her classroom, of $4,000, which she's already got plans for that. So very proud of my wife.
You guys probably saw an old new face today. I'd like to welcome Bentley back to the meeting.
I'll give you $5. I wanted to congratulate my new grandson, Noah Littrell. He turned 1 year old, and I'm his favorite grandfather. That's what he told me, so, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to hassle you guys again. Thank you for the 11 additional people who filled out the committee survey last week. That takes us up to a total of 25. There are 141 people in our club. That is 17.7%. So please, when I send the email after club today about committees, please take a moment to sign up. Really, the 25 people who have signed up, thank you. We had a meeting today with the committee chairs that was excellent. We had a lot of really good conversations, so we're excited about some of our plans for this year. But we do need help to make all of that happen. So it's not a huge commitment. At least let us know where you might be interested in serving or what you might be interested in doing, and we'll get you plugged in. So thank you.
Awesome. And I think we're ready to go. I think that is it. Mr. President. Good. You got one?
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Good.
Are we ready for some football? A Tuesday afternoon conversation. Go ahead, sir. Oh. Keep waiting for some football.
One never knows with this group. I'm going to call Andrea back up here and present her with her second Paul Harris Fellow. Now, some people work and do a lot of sweat equity in Rotary, and then there's one to do that and also give to the foundation. Thank you so much for your support of the foundation. Love you. Now let's go to football.
Are we ready for some football? This is awesome. So, no other shows of hands, right? Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and ask our coaches to go ahead and have a seat. That'd be awesome. Thank you guys for being here. First and foremost, I want to thank Jamie Cowell for setting this up last year, fellow Rotarian, and now we get to do it all over again. Football means so much in our community, so it's awesome to hear it from these community leaders. It's going to be a great presentation. But first, we will hear from the voice of Cleveland, Tennessee, our very own Steve Hartline. Woo!
That's what happens when they introduce me. It's usually a big, applause, and I get up and it's quiet. Hello, Mike Griffin. Always good to see you. What does it say about the University of Tennessee that he's the National Alumni Chair for the University of Tennessee? How pathetic is that? All right, we are on. It's good to have Nick Saban Stum over there. That's from now on. There we go. Hey, we are doing this again, and you guys ready? Yeah, gosh. I've talked to all three of them, and they're very heavily preparing and getting ready and all this stuff and practice and that sort of thing. Hey, what microphone do they need to use, guys? I was told I was handing them a microphone. Is it this one? Is this wireless? Oh, God. Oh, okay, here we go. By the way, what is the age minimum on the young professionals if Andrew's leading the way? What is young? What is young? All right. All right, guys, so first of all, please welcome these great coaches in our community. Had to fill some time. So we're going to begin, guys, with just talking a little about yourself. We obviously have some new people. I'd love to hear about your programs. Love to hear just an overall. We will be taking your questions before we go off the air, and we really are on the air on Mixed TV all over the world right now. We're going to go alphabetical. Drew Akins, somebody said an hourglass. No, see, that wasn't even funny. But well, nobody got it. They'll get it when they get in the car. Drew, we're going to begin with you, buddy. Walker Valley, Drew Akins.
Would like to start off just thanking you. This is a pretty cool event. You know, last year was the first time we did this. And it's just cool to be able to get in the community and have conversations. And y'all's questions last year, I started thinking about, okay, as we get into this, what do I need to think about and prepare for? And I remember last year we got into like NIL deals and recruiting, and so like hopefully it's still as clear as mud. So if y'all have more questions, hopefully we can get back into that. But really excited about the season, obviously building off what we did last year. You know, coming into the year, there was expectations, but we were really unsure of ourselves. Wasn't sure where we were going to go as a football team. Obviously, had a great season, and we're really excited to kind of build off of that. When we get into building off that, we have a great group of offensive linemen coming back, and we're going to kind of build everything around the line of scrimmage. And if you know anything about football, if you can build around the line of scrimmage, you got a chance to be successful. We're excited to have 4 starting offensive linemen back, returning starters. We have 6 guys that played varsity reps and lettered that are back up front on the offensive line. So really excited about that group, being able to run the football. Everybody thinks of me as this throw it around, you know, always passing the ball kind of guy. But if you look at historically the good teams that we've had, going back to Ottawa when I was there as offense coordinator, and then Red Bank as offense coordinator, when we were able to run the football, even 2020 at Walker Valley, you know, the good seasons we've had have been built around the run game. So hopefully we can establish a great run game, which will help. Excited to have the Stums here, which will help our new quarterback, Dosen Stum. So Dosen's taken over as a junior. He's came back to us last season, was able to learn under Evan Schwartzel, who was our quarterback last year. He graduated, so 9 returning starters on offense, but Evan was a huge graduation hit for us, was an unbelievable player. One of the best quarterbacks I've ever been around, could make every throw. You know, Dosen stepping into that role, we're not expecting to take a step backwards, but we're going to have the run game help Dosen as he gets his feet wet. It's always hard. We have high expectations from the quarterback position. So as we get into that, we need to be able to ease him in with a run game. Excited about our defense. We have an entire new defensive staff. Literally, there's a certain amount of pride that you get when one of your assistant coaches goes and gets a head coaching job. If you know anything about our program, 5 years ago, nobody was stealing a coach from Walker Valley to be a head coach somewhere else. So to build our program to a place where people want to steal our coaches and do the things that we're doing is really cool. I'm really excited for Taylor Harvey. He got the head coaching job at Ray County. But obviously that's a hit to our program. If you know anything about what we've done over the last 5 years, Coach Harvey was a huge part of that. Obviously, he took some coaches with him, so we're building a whole new defensive staff on that side of the ball. So excited about that, excited to bring new guys in, some guys I've worked with in the past, but it is going to be a learning curve defensively. But again, we have a defensive line that's played a lot of football, and we're really excited about that side of the ball and excited about those kids. But the biggest thing is we've built a culture now where we have a certain expectation around our program, and that's different for Walker Valley. You know, we haven't had that expectation around Walker Valley football, you know, but instead of shying away from that, we're trying to teach our kids to lean into that and instead of being the guy that's going out and trying to surprise people with wins, now we're the one being hunted. And we've got to understand the mindset that it takes as being the hunted that now we've got to go in with a different mindset and a different work ethic. So that's something we're preaching within our culture, and definitely that's something we're going to have to continue to do in order to get back to where we want to be in the playoffs. So thank you all for having me. Excited about the season and look forward to your questions.
So this year will be a little different for us. We only have 10 seniors on the team. 2 of those are the 3rd and 4th string kicker. So the good news is we're really deep at kicker. So 8 of those seniors will get a lot of playing time. We have over 115 kids on the team, so we have a large, freshman class came in. There was 51 of them. I think it's down to about 42 now. But so a lot of younger guys will have to play, inexperienced guys, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. We do not have a lot of returning starters. We have 1 returning starter on offense, offensive lineman Chris Myers, and then we have 3 returning starters on defense. So we've got a lot of guys that have worked really hard to try to prove themselves, and that's really what we're banking on, is those guys stepping up and filling some of those voids, but we don't know yet. And that's why we're scrimmaging, Anderson County this Friday, and then next week we go to Alcoa. If you know anything about high school football, we'll find out how good we are, how bad we are when we scrimmage Alcoa. I think I don't even know how many state championships they've won here recently, but 13 out of 15 years. But we need to see that because in our region, we play tough competition every Friday night. They're all really well-coached teams. We play a lot of kids that will play at the next level, Power 5, so in the SEC, and then some of them will go on to the NFL. So, nobody's making excuses for us, and I'm certainly not going to make an excuse for us. Our job as coaching staff is to try to get this team ready to compete, and that is our goal. And hopefully we're a whole lot better at the end of the year than we are at the beginning of the year. We do have to be realistic and understand these guys have not played a lot of football, but we're excited. It's a new challenge from last year, and as a coaching staff, we understand that, and we're building for the future as well. So hopefully some of these guys will step up, and you'll know their name at the end of the year. I'm not going to say a lot of names just for the simple fact it's on them to prove who they are, and if they're capable of doing it. And the next few weeks will decide who's the best ones to play on Friday night.
That's what I was waiting on. Yeah, so I'm going into year 2. So for most people that know, year 1 in a football program is a massive undertaking. But it's nice to actually come back to this next year. And I know some people in the room. So I know Andrew, I know some people that are around. We've got a new director of schools, Dr. Elliott here, which I'm super fired up about, to have a Cleveland person in charge of the director of schools who cares a lot about athletics, who cares about football. For our board members to be here, Mr. Tucker and Peggy Pesterfield, I'm so excited for them to be here and supporting us. Going into year 2, there's a lot of moving parts, especially at Cleveland, because we're trying to run a K-12 football program. So with that being said, we have now 335 students that are in either tackle or flag football from kindergarten through 12th grade. We have 22 teams and 59 coaches, all in the K-12 program. So that is a lot of things going on. We've got JV freshman games on Monday. We have middle school football games on Thursday, our game on Friday night, youth league games on Saturday. We're all meeting on Sunday, so it's nonstop, 365. It is for these guys as well, but we're really trying to make a push for our youth league stuff. We've done a lot of great things in the off season that we're excited about. We partnered with Bradley County Services this summer. We were able to feed every single kid, 9 through 12 in the program, made sure they're eating breakfast and lunch every single day. Shout out to my wife, Lauren, for actually putting that together and doing that every day. So we're very proud of that. We've done field house renovations. We've purchased 70 shoulder pads, 68 helmets that are sitting right here that are all 5-star rated safety helmets and equipment for our kids. We've been doing a lot of work. With that being said, there's still a lot to go. Coach Floyd mentioned our region. We play in arguably the hardest region in the entire state of Tennessee, and not only do we have to play each other with good programs, we have to go through Knoxville with Maryville, who's won 15 state championships, Bearden, who has multiple SEC players, at Farragut, who's always historically good. So it's a long hard challenge for us at Cleveland, but it's exciting. We graduated 18 seniors last year. We've got 14 seniors this year. One kid I do want to highlight is Isaiah Davis. Comes back. It was our starting running back at one point last year. Went through some adversity. Actually got benched at one point last year, but now has done a complete 180. He's a team captain, but he's the first kid to come through Cleveland that started in the first year of Cleveland Youth League football at 8 years old, and now will graduate at 18 years old. He just committed to a full ride scholarship to the University of Richmond, which is worth $80,000 a year, and that's the first one to go through the whole K through 12 program. That's the dream. And so, yes, thank you. We're very excited about that. We've got a lot of great players coming back, especially on offense. We replaced a lot of defensive players, but we're confident there. The only thing we don't have is we don't have numbers. We're right now where we're at in the 9 through 12 program, we just don't have a lot of numbers. We'll have to play the Beardens and Farragut's of the world with half the players on the roster on a Friday night. We started a freshman team last year, so that'll be the second year of that, and they have 5 dedicated coaches just for the freshmen. But they have to play a full JV schedule because there's not a lot of freshman teams around for them to play. We added 6th grade football this year at the middle school, and we added a second 8U team in the youth league. So we've added 3 teams in 2 years, and the football interest is high and building. So we got a lot of momentum, but we still got a long ways to go.
Thanks, Ed. So I've got one more question, then we'll turn it over to them. 2-part question. If you had to sum up your coaching philosophy, what is that? Second part of the question, it's really 2 questions. Who do you look up to? Who do you admire? I'm going to begin with Coach Akins.
Yeah, I wish you would have prepped us a little bit.
I don't prep.
No, there's no doubt. You just came up with that, right? 2 parts. The first one was philosophy of coaching, and mine are going to tie in together. So the person I look up to is my dad. Dang it. My dad's awesome. He got me into this business. I look out and see Dan Moore. Dan played for Dad. Dan and I played together in high school at Boyd. And the reason I say ties into coaching, Dad had a unique ability to be able to get kids to play incredibly hard for him. They weren't always the best players. They didn't always go up to the next level and have unbelievable success in college football. But in high school, man, he got kids to play incredibly hard. So as I got into this profession, I started thinking, okay, who am I going to be as a coach? How am I going to get kids to play like that? And I started looking at Dad and what made him unique when it came to coaching. And I believe that he was so unique in the fact that he had an unbelievable care and love for his players. It wasn't scared to tell them that. He would lay it on the line for the player, and it was individual. Every kid on our football team knew that Dad cared about them individually. So you start saying, okay, well, what does love and care have to do with football? This is not if you watch football, it's a violent game, right? There's not a whole lot of love and care going on a football field. But the way I tie it together is if that kid knows that you love him and knows that you care about him, it's just like a classroom, right? When you're teaching chemistry, the kid's not going to care about chemistry until they know you care about them. It's the same way with football. The kid's not going to lay it on the line if they don't love you and they don't care about you. And I believe every kid on our football team at Boyd Buchanan from 2002, 3, 4, that's when I was there, they knew that Dad loved them and cared about them. And because of that, they loved him and cared about him. And I don't believe that football at Boyd Buchanan at that time was built around us being great players. I believe it was built around, I love that man so much that I'm going to do everything I can, not that I can be successful, but so he can be successful. So he can get his name and he can get what he deserves, because That's what love does. It makes you care about things that are not yourself. And man, I've just kind of built a career off trying to show kids that I care about them, show kids that I love them, and hopefully I show them that enough that they're going to lay it on the line when it gets difficult. We always say when it gets difficult, you got two choices. You can either quit or you can keep pressing forward. And it's a lot easier to quit when you don't care about the person beside you. And it's a lot easier to quit when all I care about is my own success. When it gets difficult, it's a lot easier for me to say, man, this isn't worth it. But if I'm doing it out of care and love for the people beside me, I believe that'll keep you pushing through no matter how hard it gets. And we try to teach that in everything. So we relate football to life. Hey, man, when your marriage gets tough, when you lose your job, when you lose twins in utero, when those things happen, you got to make a choice. And we believe that this game can teach you that love and care will press through anything hard that happens. So, sorry, I get emotional, man. But like those things, when you talk about philosophy, when you talk about core values, that's the things that matter to me. And hopefully, I believe you've seen it transfer onto the football field. So.
Very similar to what Drew just said. Our program's built on relationships, and I think we all know this. Once you get into coaching, when I first got in, to be honest, it was about me coaching. And then you learn real quickly it doesn't have anything to do with me. It's about being a part of a team, having relationships with kids. You talked about who we looked up to. I mean, I was very fortunate to play with some coaches that are now at some of the top places in the nation. Kansas City Chiefs defensive back coach David Merritt. Buddy Green was my head coach in college, who was the Navy defense coordinator for a long time. Some of my best friends I played with, Ohio State running back Carlos Laughlin. Jimmy Lindsey's the defensive line coach at North Carolina. And I say that because it's about relationships, and those are the guys I stay in contact with. So even as a player, I didn't know it at the time because I didn't even really think about going into coaching. But when I look at what I do as a coach, it's what I thought as a player. And I don't want to say exactly what Drew said, but it's the truth. It's relationships. We have one word in our program. If you ask any kid on our team, what does Bradley football mean or what does it stand for? And they would answer trust. Because until we have trust, we can't do anything. I can't discipline a kid until he trusts me. This kid can't go on and play on the field on a Friday night unless we trust him. But he also has to trust his teammates. He's got to trust his coaches. Coaches have to trust each other. Our administration, which, he talked about the Cleveland administration being here. Your administration, people don't realize this, as a football coach, you better be in line with your administration. If they have different goals than you, it's not going to work. And I think we're all three pretty fortunate, the places we're at. Our administration lines up and they believe in what we're doing, and they allow us to do our job. Long story short, it's relationships. And that's why I got into coaching. And people ask me this all the time. They think it's about winning and losing. Obviously, we all want to win. But my favorite part of the season, actually, there is no off season anymore. You have in season and off season, but it's the weight room. My favorite part is when kids come back that are done playing and they come back to visit. Friday nights are fun, but they're quick. So it really, like I said, it's the relationships that we build, and for us, our core values are built around trust.
I can't just repeat exactly what both of them said, but honestly, they're right on it. So there's a saying that we talk about, and high school football comes down to three things: moments, memories, and relationships. And the moments that you're going to think about are not Friday night. They're in the weight room. They're when so-and-so maxed. They're when you actually had to do something very difficult. They're when so-and-so got punished, because remember, he did this stupid thing, and you're going to be talking about that 10 years down the road. All those moments, the majority of them happen on other days than Friday nights. We only play 10 to 15 days of varsity football a year. It's why we try to add freshman games and JV games. But if you don't like the 350 days that you're working, you're not going to like football. Football's not the sport for you. The relationships are the greatest thing that ever come from this sport. You take kids, especially in our locker room, we have everything. We've got wealthy people, we've got inner city kids, we've got every sort of nationality and demographic at Cleveland, and we put them in one locker room, integrate them, and this year in the offseason, we literally put them by race, black, white, all across the locker room to make sure everybody is starting to get along together. You won't have a successful team, you won't be a successful person unless you can do those things. It's all the relationships. My mentors were people that modeled coaching to me. I was not a great player in high school. I didn't play college football. I was fortunate to be a graduate assistant and work for Philip Fulmer, Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley, and a bunch of great assistant coaches at Tennessee, and coach college ball for a while. So believe it or not, Lane Kiffin was one of the biggest models that I've ever had. That shocks a lot of people, but honestly, we do a lot of the same things and believe in a lot of the same things. And he treated a lot of people great that were underneath him. When you're the lowest on the totem pole, like I was at Tennessee, and the head coach treats you well, you remember that. And then when you see another person that takes that same job and they treat you bad, you remember that, and you learn how to treat people for the rest of your lives. Every single one of us has had a bunch of big time athletes or 4 or 5 star players, but yet you have to teach them that ego is the enemy, and it starts with the head coach. And there's all these lessons that come from football. There's all these models. This is the greatest sport ever invented because it does a lot of these things. And this is why every single one of us feel so passionately about this sport and love to talk about this thing.
Thank you. Thanks, Coach. Yeah. There is conviction in this room. Ego is the enemy for many of you in this room right here. I want you to remember that. Take it with you. Let's do some questions from the crowd here. Anybody have a question? We've got a microphone back there. Anybody have a question for these coaches? We're going to go right over here to young McCord. Right over there.
If you listen to like college coaches and stuff, they always talk about how offensive linemen are the ones that have to be developed. It's the most developmental position in college, because if you can run the ball, you can run the ball, you catch the ball, you can catch the ball. In high school, what do y'all feel is the position that you most are able to develop a kid from when you get your hands on them until they graduate versus just you're either 6'3" and can catch the ball or not? You know what I mean?
Well, you have to develop all of them, first of all, obviously, but I would say quarterback at our level because football has changed, and it's all trickled down, NFL, college to high school. 10 years ago, high school football was way different than it is now. I mean, you guys would be shocked how sophisticated it actually is from the quarterback position, and actually from all of our offenses. There's a whole lot on the quarterback they're having to do before the ball is even snapped, of recognizing coverages, protections, how many people are on the defensive line, how many people are in the box. They're counting a lot of numbers, and then then you got to decide after the ball is snapped, post-snap reads. So I would say quarterback at our level. Receivers, DBs, I mean, I coach DBs, but let's be honest, they either got it or they don't, So offensive line is one of them, but they also have to develop mentally more than physically, I think, because we do see so many different defenses line up, and it's pretty sophisticated, like I said. So they're playing with their mind a whole lot more than they're playing with their body. Now, the big ones and the good ones, they're just big and good. That's just God-given. So I would say quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think the closer you are to the football, the more technical you have to be. So if you're an offensive or defensive lineman, you have to be, one step can make or break the play. Where the further you are from the football, you can be a great athlete, be a DB, and cover a lot of ground, if that makes sense there. Coach is exactly right about quarterbacks, especially the way we play. We use multiple quarterbacks, and we do a lot of different schemes and stuff, so it's very difficult. But offensive line and D-line is still what wins games, especially in high school football, in my opinion. I've been in multiple states, so Tennessee is totally different than if you go to Georgia or if you go to Alabama, to where the O-line, D-line game is a totally different game down in those states because everyone's just so much bigger and faster at those positions. That's probably the one thing that high school football we all complain about the most is no one ever has linemen. So how do you get those kids to want to play that position when there's no glory for them whatsoever? How do they want to go play center or left guard and their name's not really going to be in the paper? They're not going to be on a lot of graphics because they don't look good in a jersey. And so you have to find those kids, and those are the ones you love the most and try to promote them the most you can, but you have to make it fun. Your most important coaches, in my opinion, are your head strength coach and your offensive line coach, and they have to love that man and want to go to battle for him. And so when I build a staff, those are the two first things I'm immediately looking for.
Agree. That's the shortest answer I've ever given. Yeah, man, listen, I said it in my opening monologue, that was the longest of the three, shockingly. We ask a lot of our quarterbacks, and we ask a ton. We're asking, like, Coach Floyd said, I mean, we're asking hot reads, we're asking fronts, we're asking safeties, that's before the ball even gets snapped. We're asking us to get lined up. What motions are we doing? There's so much information the quarterback has to process on top of the head coach screaming and yelling at him because the expectation's there for him. And I talked to Dosen several times this summer, man, I have to put you in high pressure situations because practice is not going to be high pressure. So I've got to make you feel very uncomfortable where you can live in uncomfortable. So quarterback is a huge developmental piece. We've had some great quarterbacks come through. We've had 3,000, 2,000 yard passers, numerous. But it comes down to how willing are they to get in the film room and learn and take ownership of what they do. Similar to Coach Tygart said, you know, my two positions, and I know this got mentioned by both, the two positions I'm going to hire first are offensive line coach and DB's coach. Those are the two positions that I think playing high school, college, or NFL cornerback is one of the hardest positions in high school. It is so difficult because they're on an island and they've got to have a short memory, and that's hard. And you know, it takes a different level of kid to play DB and just put things in the rearview mirror that quickly. I think corner is one of the hardest positions in high school football, period, end of discussion. I love our offensive line. They didn't just show up and be as good as I think they are going to be. We've developed them. We've changed our scheme to fit them. You know, there's a lot of things going on with that. So O-line, DB, I think cornerback specifically. And then, man, in these offenses, your quarterback better be a dude.
Two questions for you. First question is, how does today's society and culture influence your football programs, especially with the rise of NIL deals, the impact of social media, the shifting expectations around player branding, and any changes in traditional team values and practices? How do you balance these modern influences with maintaining the long-standing cultural aspects of your programs?
That is an extremely well-written question, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so let me see if I can hit all of those.
I've got a lot more for you guys
There we go.
later on throughout the year. So.
Okay, so the first thing, we are kind of on the forefront anyways of times have changed, and the way that you coach is even different than when I was in high school. So kids like a lot of shiny things, and they like new uniforms that we have this year, and new helmets, and picture days, and photo shoots. Okay, we put a actual physical barber shop in our field house and give out free haircuts on Thursdays. You would think, why is that important? Well, yeah, exactly. So we do a lot of things to try to attract football players and make it fun for kids. We play music at practice. We're very big on social media and branding and a lot of those things. You have to do that to get kids to want to play. When the NCAA football game came out, we had a tournament in the field house on all the televisions, and we're playing together. If you don't do all these things, kids don't want to play. Football's hard. I mean, football it's hot. We got heat advisories all week this week, and we're still going to be out there as much as we legally can. They hit each other. I already mentioned we only play 10 to 15 days a year, so you're doing a whole lot of work, and football's very hard, and sometimes it's easier to go inside where there's air conditioning and I can play a different sport, and it's different. So we try to do a lot of things to get them to play. At the same time, there's a difference in what you see online and what real life is too. Perception is reality to some people, but a lot of times we don't post some things that are totally different. And that's just for us. So we try to be mindful of what our presence is out there because it is important, and all these guys do the same thing. But also not reinforcing a negative aspect on that deal either.
Yeah, you got to adapt. Like you said, I've had to change. This will be my 19th year being the head coach, and I've definitely changed over the years. Because used to, when I was growing up, it was either this way or you don't play. Well, you can't be that way anymore. There's a line, and I can't sit here and tell you that I honestly go strictly by the line, whether a kid goes over or not. For example, Tyrese Stovall, he's a 6'7" wide receiver. He's going to play basketball in college. He's a Division I basketball player. He's not practiced with us the last 2 weeks, but he's been at basketball camp. Well, back in my day, when we were playing, well, you miss that long, you can't play. Well, I've got to adapt a little bit. Is it really about me, or is it about him having a chance to go play college basketball?
I think you should kick him off.
Well, and you know what? As a coaching staff, trust me, we got in the room and we talked about it, and we're a whole lot better with a 6'7" wide receiver. But I think those things you have to adapt, and every situation now is different. We don't have a long list of team rules. We have 2 expectations. You say yes sir, no sir, or yes ma'am, no ma'am, or you do the right thing. And I know it's very broad, but we handle every situation different. As speaking of culture, our kids run our culture. They know that it's different than society, and like Coach Tygard said, football's hard, so we do remind them. We do a lot of communicating. We have team talks. You know, we'll cut workouts short every Thursday. We call it Team Talk Thursday, and we talk about things that are going on in life. And why do you play football? Why is it important for your teammate to count on you? Why do you need to count on him? What does it take to be a great teammate? So I think every program, we all copy each other. I mean, let's be honest, we didn't make any of this up. We have our own little twist to everything, but we spend a lot of time talking about real life. Just like on the field, you're supposed to communicate. You got to communicate off the field. So adapting to those things that arise from day to day.
Listen, they got great answers. I'm going to start the next question so I don't have to repeat them.
We've got a lot of business leaders in this room, a lot of people from the business community. How can business leaders and people in this community help your programs out throughout the entire year?
And I'll tell you what, we just finished our lift-a-thon, and I was talking to Coach Floyd as we were getting started. Unbelievable outpouring of love from our community. I was astounded. So lift-a-thon, we raise money, and then we have this event at the end, right before dead period,